You're listening to Catalyst for Change, and my name is Jessica Huckabee, your host. I started this podcast to learn what makes people resilient after challenging events and how they've used those series of events as a catalyst for change in their life. You'll hear stories of resiliency and strength, so get ready, sit back, and be prepared to be inspired. Today on my show, I'll be speaking to Kate Kunkel. She's a sound therapist and vegan nutritionist. After witnessing the horrors of advanced Alzheimer's in her mother and experiencing memory loss and personality issues herself, Kate set out to find the key to preventing this terrifying disease. So the lifestyle changes she's instituted to become healthier and protect her own brain resulted in the program that she now shares with clients and in her book, Don't Let the Memories Fade. But today we're really talking to Kate about her story and what was the catalyst for change in her life. Thank you so much, Kate, for coming on my podcast, Catalyst for Change today. And I'm really excited to hear about your story. You have a really interesting, fascinating story. Can you tell me a little bit about the catalyst for change in your life? You mentioned the harp, and I'd really love to hear how you came to play the harp and what that led to.
Sure. So I was in Hollywood for many years. I was a writer there, and I also had a little post-production company. And then we invested in a business out in Palm Springs, California. And I tell you what, all the stress from all of those different things was pretty overwhelming at times. And I spent a lot of time in meetings and traveling back and forth between the cities. And the stress levels were somewhere near Mars.
Oh,
And I wasn't very happy, actually, because I felt like I wasn't doing what my life's work was supposed to be, but I had no clue what my life's work was supposed to be, because I'd kind of veered from what I thought it was going to be when I was younger. So one night, it was in 1993, 92. And I was very, very unhappy. And I was driving back from LA to Palm Springs and to our home. And I was crossing this big wash, we call them, out in the desert. And it's a very deep one. And just for a millisecond, just a breath of a second, I thought, wow, it would be really easy to just drive off this bridge. And that thought, that millisecond, brought me into this realization that I had to make some serious changes because I couldn't continue this way.
yeah.
So I went home. I continued on my way home. The dogs were sleeping. My husband was sleeping. Even the cat didn't wake up. Nobody cared, and I was feeling very sorry for myself. So I got into bed and I was basically crying myself to sleep. And I'm not really a religious person, although I do have a spiritual practice, but I'd never really prayed much. And all I did was I said, listen, if there's anybody out there, I could really use a hand here because whatever I'm doing is not right. So I'm asking if there's somebody there, could I have a hand and tell me what I'm supposed to be doing with my life or show me the way, something. Fell asleep crying. And in the night, I received a dream, Jessica. In the dream, I was playing a harp. And while I was playing that harp, my heart was full. My heart felt it was expanding through my chest, through the universe. I felt like, and even to this day, all these years later, I still can feel that feeling when I think about it. So that peace. It was such a feeling of peace.
Yeah.
So I got up the next morning. I said to my husband, okay, I have to buy a harp. And he's like, okay.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting for him.
Yeah. And of course, I did, in the dream, I was playing one of those big concert harps. And I mean, they're very expensive. Those harps start at about $10,000.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
certainly didn't have that kind of disposable income at
Yeah.
the time. So my husband went looking for a harp for me. He had many friends who had music stores. So they went to a music show, like a trade show, and he found a little harp for me, and we ordered it. And I'll never forget picking that up, Jessica. It was like I picked up that harp, and I don't have children of my own, but I can imagine that it must feel kind of like that when you have a child and you have that feeling that this is what's right in the world. And I picked up that harp and I started to play, and I knew that that was my destiny. 1 year later, we closed all of our businesses in California, literally locked the doors, walked away, and moved to Las Vegas, Nevada. And we were driving by the Excalibur on the way to the apartment that we had rented. And we looked at each other and we said, we're going to play there, because my husband at the time played guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And we had been practicing together, and we decided that on our way driving by that hotel, that's where we were going to play, because I was playing old Celtic and medieval music. And 1 year after driving by, we started our long tenure at the Excalibur.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, so 2 years just about 2 years from the date that I got that first harp, I started playing professionally in Las Vegas.
Wow.
And so that was the biggest, the catalyst was fear and uncertainty and anger and frustration and sadness, an incredible sadness that led me to my heart's work. And I didn't know at the time that the heart's work was healing, but I knew that the harp was healing me. And that's all that mattered at that point.
Wow. So you went from a stage of feeling sad and not knowing what to do with your life. Nobody was waking up when you got home, to having that dream. And then what came from that dream was a new career, a new way to heal yourself. Oh my goodness. That must have been a really interesting adventure. And but your husband was on board with your dream, and he helped you with that dream.
Oh yeah.
And,
yeah. Yeah,
so,
he was always, we're not together anymore. We were still very good friends,
okay.
But he was always very supportive, no matter what my urge at the moment was.
Yeah, he believed in you and what you stood for and what your dreams were.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Now, you mentioned playing professionally after 2 years of picking up that harp. So how did you get in the door to be professionally playing at Excalibur?
Now there's another catalyst for change. Let me tell you, the angels were working overtime, because I was supposed to be doing this. When we first moved there, we were just practicing, mostly because I didn't really know how to play that well. A year, I had played piano as a child, so it's not like I had never played an instrument before. So it's not like it was fresh, no background. So I didn't know how to play the piano very well. I had finished the conservatory when I was 14 or something, but I hadn't played in years and years and years. So we practiced that first year, but we were playing coffee shops and like Ren fairs and stuff like that. So we practiced playing together, and we were at a place, the Rio Hotel.
Okay.
And downstairs there was a guy who did sketches, caricatures.
Yeah.
And we were saying, he was doing a caricature of us, and we were saying we would really like to play at the Excalibur. And he said, well, my wife just gave up her contract. She's not going back. She's a harpist.
Wow.
So we contacted our agent and said, you need to get us an audition, because we learned the harpist is leaving.
Yeah.
So he got us an audition. And so there, just the fact that we were talking to that guy
at that moment, right when his wife gave notice.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So then we go, and we're and they did live auditions. You didn't get to audition in a room. You auditioned on stage at the time.
Okay.
There were 200 acts vying for 2 spaces on the roster at the time. And I got to tell you, Jessica, I've never been so nervous in my life. I've done a lot of things in my life, but my stomach, everything was just,
I
I was
bet.
shaking so hard. I thought I didn't even know if I was going to be able to play because I was shaking so hard.
Yeah.
But here's where the angels come in again. So there, we had to plug in the instruments to have them amplified for the stage. And I was bending down, plugging in the harp into the direct box, which is what takes you to the amplification system. And I felt a tap on my shoulder, and I heard a voice, a man's voice, just as clear as you talking to me now, saying, "You're going to do just fine."
Wow.
There was nobody around me,
Mm-hmm.
just this tap on my shoulder and this voice. And I just calmed right down. And I just, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
Did that audition, Jessica, remembering at that point, I think I've been playing 18 months because it took us
Okay.
another 6 months from the audition to actually start working.
Okay.
So I've been playing. We sat down and I just played my heart out without any shaking, without any concern. It was a great performance. And he said, "We'll let you know in 2 weeks." Well, by the time we got home, there was a message on the answering machine. We had the gig.
Oh my gosh. They just knew right away.
Yeah. So that was it. That was the start of it. Just yeah. But in all fairness, for people thinking they can just do the harp in 2 years, you really got to have some kind of a background.
Yeah. It sounds like a little bit more complicated instrument, right? Yeah. Okay. And so from Excalibur, you were there 6 years playing the harp. Now, what did that lead to in your life?
So I played an extra gig, like because we did a day shift, which was really cool. We worked 10 to 4. So that meant I
Nice.
could do
Perfect.
lots of gigs in the evenings. So I was asked to play for an engagement party.
Okay.
And so there was a couple there that I played the piano and the harp at this particular party. And there was a couple that was in the den with me there. It was at a house. And they were so sweet. And they sat with me the whole evening because, parties, nobody really listens. But
Yeah.
this couple, they did. And they were sitting there just chatting away. And I remember his name was Steve. And we just had a wonderful evening. And
Nice.
so about 2.5, 3 months later, I get a call from the bride from the engagement party. And she says, "Kate, do you remember that couple?" Blah, blah. Of course I do. They were wonderful people. She said, "Well, he's really, really sick. He has cancer and there's nothing they can do. There are no options." And his wife asked him what she could do, as
Yeah.
something for him. He says, "I want that little girl with the harp. I'd like to hear that little girl with the harp again."
Oh,
So they contacted me and asked if I would go all the way to Henderson from where I lived up in Summerlin. I said, "Of course I'll be there, of course."
yeah.
So I took my little harp and I drove across the city, and I got there and there were all these cars, and I'm like, "Oh, am I too late?" I thought, well, maybe he's passed, because
Yeah.
I had to work. But I came in and his wife opened the door. She said, "Oh, thank goodness you're here. He's been waiting for you." I didn't realize that he was dying. I thought he was just sick, and
Oh
that
my gosh.
that's why I was going, just to, comfort him. Well, I get in there and he's in the hospital bed in the living room. The whole family's there, and he's sort of in and sort of out of consciousness. So I tuned up the harp and I went in the living room and I put my hand on his arm and I said, "Steve, it's Kate. I'm here. I'm going to play for you." And I saw his hand kind of clench. So I knew he knew it, but he couldn't say anything, of course.
Yeah.
Anyway, I sat down. I put my harp, the bow of the harp, right against the bed, the mattress of the bed. And I just started playing. And I remembered he really liked the old Irish stuff. So I played a lot of the Irish stuff. And then I thought, I'm just going to play Canon in D, because it's one of those ones you can just play forever and ever.
Mm.
And I started that. And then all of a sudden, here come the angels again. It was like somebody took control of my fingers.
Yeah.
I was there, but I wasn't in charge of what was happening with the music. All of a sudden, it was this beautiful, I don't really, well, maybe ethereal, but a very calming music. And it was just completely spontaneous. I had no control, and it was almost like somebody else was using my fingers. I know that may sound weird, but that's how it felt. And it was like I was melding with this energy. And that was maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I don't even really know how long. And then all of a sudden, Jessica, it just stopped. It just stopped. And I looked, and Steve was gone.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm thinking it must have been his energy I was tapping into, but he was gone. And I realized then I sort of came back into consciousness myself, and I noticed everybody was crying and his wife was crying, and I like, what do I do now? So I just thought, okay, I'll play Amazing Grace, because I don't want to just stop it like that. I'll play Amazing Grace and then I will leave. So I played Amazing Grace, and then I quietly left, went out the door. And his wife came, followed me, and she said, thank you, that he was waiting for you. That's what he needed. Well,
yeah. Oh my gosh.
Then I have to get home all the way across the city where I'm crying like a baby. I had to sit in my car for like half an hour because I was so overwhelmed by the emotion. It was really, really powerful. And all of these thoughts came into me, and I'm like, okay, this is why I'm doing. This is why I was given the dream.
Yeah.
And then that got me into doing some other research into the healing aspects of the harp. And yeah, so that was another change. So, going from entertainer to now realizing that there's something about this that has to do with healing.
Wonderful. So you're healing others that are going through this grief process. To me, when you mentioned the man who wanted you to play the harp during his last moments, it's like welcoming him into his next stage of, whatever that may be. Oh my gosh, that's so powerful. I even feel emotional just listening to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh. So now you knew that the harp was healing, and you got into this healing work. And so tell me how that evolved.
Yeah. So again, at Excalibur, it seems like so many things depended on Las Vegas, on following that impulse.
Yeah.
And it really was an impulse to go to Las Vegas. So while I'm at Excalibur, now after this experience with Steve, I'm starting to read, and I'm learning all I can about harps and healing.
Yeah.
And I learned about this Dr. Ron Price, who was a professor of music at the University of Illinois at Chicago. And he had a form of Parkinson's disease. And his book was all about how somebody had suggested that he try the harp because he was a trumpet player, and he could no longer play the trumpet because of the Parkinsonian. And so he started playing the harp, and he was healed also by playing the harp. So at the time, there was a fellow working at the hotel whose wife had MS.
Okay.
And so I was just saying to him, I've heard about this thing. Maybe it will help your wife. It helped this man. Maybe it'll help your wife.
Yeah.
And so we got her a little harp, and she started working with that. And when I met them, she was in a wheelchair and really couldn't function very well. She couldn't type or anything. She couldn't write. She was pretty far advanced. She was young.
Yeah.
But we got working on the harp, and I'd go over and I would literally just hold her hand on the strings and get the vibration going. And over the course of the time that they were there, she was able to write and to type again. She couldn't stand or anything yet. Or I don't know if I don't know what happened because they left the city. But I do know that in that time, there was quite an improvement. So of course, learning all that just sent me off into the whole healing work. And Richard was my husband's name at the time. And he and I wrote this book called The Healing Sound of Music. And we started touring and doing healing concerts and that sort of thing. So yeah, that whole thing came, it seems like I feel a little bit sometimes like a ping pong, or not a ping pong,
A puppet, like somebody's
puppet.
pulling the
Yeah,
strings and in your
it's like
life and
whatever
leading you.
happens.
Yeah, but it's in a good way,
Yeah.
being a puppet.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I know that I was here. I'm here for a reason. I know that I'm
Mhm.
here to help people heal themselves. I'm not the
Yeah.
healer. I'm here to help them find a way to do that. And whether it's through music or nutrition or whatever it is, then obviously I found that that was what I was supposed to do when I got here.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. So, so you created a book, the healing sound of, I
The
can't
Healing
read that.
Sound of Music is the one that we did
Okay.
back in 2000. So that's 20 years
Okay.
ago that
20
that
years
first book
ago.
came
Okay.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot has happened since then, but I've continued doing the healing music work. So we learned about vibroacoustic therapy, and uh, yeah, that started a whole nother thing, vibroacoustic therapy. So I got to learn about how vibration itself. So we're all vibrating all the time, right? All of
Yeah.
us, all the
Yeah.
time. Everything, this table, everything. And when we use vibroacoustic therapy, we use specific sound frequencies to go through your body to help alleviate symptoms of certain things. So we use it for Alzheimer's, we use it for Parkinson's, we use it for back pain. We can help with circulation, migraines. There's all kinds of things that we have specific frequency programs. So I created programs and I teach a course actually on that because it's becoming much more popular now. When I started doing that 20 years ago, nobody knew what it was. It
Yeah.
started in the Scandinavia, but now it's getting to be much more popular in North America. So I'm very happy to see that that's happening and people are understanding the
Yeah.
power of pure sound as well as music.
Oh, nice. So now the singing bowls, I have a friend or somebody else was on my show that does singing bowls, the crystal bowls. Is it that type of thing or is it
Well,
different
sure.
than that?
No, you're still talking frequencies, right? You're still
Okay.
talking vibration. Now, in my case, with the vibroacoustic therapy, it actually goes, you lie on a specially designed lounge or sit in a chair that has transducers in it.
Oh,
And the frequencies come from a amplification system through the transducers into your body. So you're lying on this, so the frequencies go from the system through your body. So we set up a resonance in your body using that.
okay.
It still works on the same idea of
Mhm.
frequencies and resonance. It's applied a different way than through the air. It's not coming through the air.
And your harp, does that play into this therapy?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we can use just pure frequencies recorded like a 30 hertz or 40 hertz,
Yeah.
and that just goes directly through. Or I can plug the harp in to
Mm.
the amplification system. So then you actually feel the frequencies from the harp coming through. And that, boy, that's something else. That feels amazing.
I bet it sounds really interesting. I'd love to try that someday. Oh,
Yeah, it's
wonderful.
very powerful. Everybody that I've ever done it for, and when we have retreats here at Casas Pacificos, every time we have retreats, I offer that as part of the deal.
Mm.
And I've never had somebody get on there without crying.
Oh, interesting.
It
Yeah. So that,
always,
yeah,
something's always
powerful.
released.
So tell me what you're doing now. So you found healing through the vibration and working with people in that way and through the harp. So what are you up to now?
So now we live in Ecuador. My current husband and I, we moved here 3 years ago. We opened a little retreat center. But I've also been working. My mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease 10 years ago.
Mm.
And that got me on another research project. How do we fix this? And it was a little too late to fix her, but I sure learned a lot about prevention. So I've created a program using music,
Mm-hmm.
frequencies, using exercise, diet, whole foods, plant-based diet, exercise, stress reduction, meditation,
Yeah.
music, all of those things go together in a program. So I've pulled all the stuff that I've known all these years together and done all kinds of research. And actually the book will be out September 12th. It's called Don't Let the Memories Fade,
Oh, wonderful.
because it's all about making sure that you keep your mind healthy by keeping a healthy body.
Oh, wonderful. And so now, is there anything else you think we may not have covered? You have so many interesting stories, and your path has been so fascinating to me.
What
Um,
I, what I would like to, if is to say to your listeners that things come up and you think that they might be the worst thing that ever could happen.
yeah,
There's always something there that can be gleaned. And as long as you don't let it take you away, then there's always going to be something brighter on the other side. Just like driving over that bridge seemed like the lowest point in my life. And then when my former husband and I split up and I moved back to Canada after 25 years,
yeah,
that seemed like my life was, I was very upset and very sad because just, 25 years is a long time.
yeah,
And yeah, I was very sad and I was very unsure about my future. I was in my 50s already. That's a
it's
bit of
tough
a
to start
shock.
over. Yeah,
And a lot of people go through that. A
mhm,
lot of people, like 25, 30 years go by and all of a sudden they're on their own for whatever reason.
yeah,
And I was so sad. There are photographs of me at that time and I look at it and I realize, wow, you were really sad. You,
yeah,
and you were pretending not to be, but you were. So
hmm,
it's okay to be sad and it's okay to be scared. Just remember that there's always something else there for you.
yeah. No, that's really important to keep in mind, especially during these times when there's a lot of loss and heartbreak going on in the world.
A lot of fear and worry and just remember there will always be a brighter thing on the other side. It's just you just have to trust a little bit and mostly in yourself. You have to
Yeah.
give yourself the credit. Huh?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today, and I'll post more information on your book and how to get in touch with you and about your retreat in Ecuador. I'm sure there's some listeners that would love to hear about the retreat center that you operate there. So I'll post all those things in the show notes.
Great. Could you I would invite somebody if they're interested in healing with music. I
Yeah.
have a little 3 steps that you can take right now. I think I gave you the link, and just have fun with them. There's 3 things you can do with music right now to
Yeah.
make you happier and healthier and save your brain. So if you're interested in what music can do, please take advantage. I'd be so thrilled if you would try them.
Yep. And I will make sure that's posted as well. Well, thank you
Great.
so much, Kate. I really enjoyed talking to you.
And to you, Jessica, thank you.
You've been listening to Catalyst for Change, and my name is Jessica Huckabee, your host. Join us next week for another story of resiliency. And please subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts, and feel free to leave me a comment or email me at catalystforchange20@gmail.com, or on Facebook, we have a page at Catalyst for Change Resiliency.